Hello everyone, my name is Heather. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today I'm going to be talking about setting goals that you will actually achieve. So I'm filming this on December 31st. A video like this would probably go up on a more organized person's channel earlier than I will be posting this, but that's okay because New Year's is not the only time to set goals. So whatever year it is or whatever month of the year it is that you're watching this, I really hope this helps you get focused and figure out how to set the goals for yourself that you are actually going to achieve, whether that be a New Year's resolution or intention or just goals for the month. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So yes, as I said, it is New Year's Eve as I am filming this, which means that a lot of people are going to be setting a bunch of goals for themselves, or maybe one big goal for themselves for the new year. I think the other thing that tends to happen is people get really excited about these goals. They envision like new year, new me. I'm going to be this better version of myself or a new version of myself in the new year, and it's all going to be great. I'm going to be so motivated and blah. And then usually February rolls around and the motivation has disintegrated into nothing, and everyone's just kind of back to doing what they were doing before. What I think happens there, the reason that we lose motivation or just kind of give up on our goals, is because we didn't set SMART goals. Many of you have probably heard of what a SMART goal is, but I think even if you've heard about it before, I know I have heard about it a lot even before I started a program to become a therapist where we help our clients set SMART goals for themselves. I still had to review what a SMART goal is for the purpose of this video, even though it's something that I think about regularly. So if you're like, oh, SMART goals, I've heard about this a million times, don't let that be a reason to kind of skip through this part of the video, because I just think a review is really good. And some of you might not have ever heard of what a SMART goal is at all. So basically, SMART is an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART goals are really great for whether you're trying to establish a habit or it's sort of more of a one-off goal that you want to achieve and then you achieve it and then you're done. So either way, you can use this acronym to kind of help focus you as you brainstorm what that goal is going to be. For the purpose of explaining and kind of elaborating on what a SMART goal is, I'm going to use a pretty common goal or resolution that comes up, and that is to cook more. So a lot of people, they go into the new year, they're like, you know what, I've been eating out too much, or I order takeout too much and I want to cook more. Or maybe it's because they want to learn a new skill, they want to learn how to cook. Maybe they're just trying to increase their the quality of the food that they're eating, making it more nutritious and I try not to say healthy. I think all food is healthy, but more nutritious. Maybe it's to save money because eating out can be pretty expensive, and it's pretty well known and understood that cooking meals at home just is more cost effective. So with that example in mind, let's kind of go through all the letters of SMART using the example of cook more. So first of all, cook more is not specific. What does that mean? What does it mean to cook? Like popping something in the microwave, like a frozen meal? Are you cooking? Is that cooking because you went and got the frozen meal from the grocery store and you put it in the microwave at home and you saved a little bit of money rather than going and picking up Chipotle or Panera Bread or whatever? And if that's what cook more means to you, then great, as long as you're really specific about that. Maybe it's, I want to learn a new recipe. That's what cook more means. I want to learn more recipes, learn different cuisines, different cooking styles, learn how to use different appliances or different kitchen tools in your kitchen. Maybe that's what cook more means to you, like actually putting a recipe together, putting ingredients together to create something. So make it clear, what does cook mean to you? What does cooking more mean to you? And moving on, like more, what is more? Is it I didn't cook it all last year, and so if I cook one meal this year, then I cooked more? Hey, if that's what that means to you, then great, as long as you are clear on that and that's specific. Does it mean I want to cook once a week? Is it I want to learn a new recipe every month? Getting clear on what cook means and what more means. So that's being specific. Moving on to the M, which is measurable. Measurable usually means quantifiable, something that you can compare the old you to the new you, or the ongoing, the progress you, if that makes sense. So if before maybe you were cooking every few months, you were cooking one recipe every few months, and your goal is I want to cook a new recipe every single month, then that means you're cooking 12 recipes throughout the year. That's measurable. You can compare that against maybe the year before you cooked 3 new recipes throughout the year. So 12 against 3 is something that you can measure. Sometimes it's throughout the week. If it's a habit and you want to build it on a weekly basis or a couple times a week, or maybe it's how many meals per day you want to be cooked from home or prepared from home kind of thing. So maybe you were going out to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and now you want to reduce that to I'm only going to go out to eat for 1 meal a day rather than for all 3 meals a day. Or maybe you used to go out to dinner every single weekend, and you're like, you know what, I think 1 weekend a month, I really want to cook all my meals at home. So that's measurable too. You're comparing 4 times a month to 1 time a month. I'm sure I've over-explained this and that makes sense to you at this point. Moving on to A, which is achievable. So this is asking yourself, is this a realistic goal for me? Does this fit into my current lifestyle? Are you trying to change your lifestyle completely? How realistic is that? How achievable is that? Related to that, looking at your lifestyle and looking at this goal that you want to achieve, or looking at a habit that you want to establish, you actually need to envision how this is going to fit into your lifestyle moving forward. So let's say, moving along with our example, cooking more. That means that you need to make sure that you're setting aside time to grocery shop, maybe a little bit more frequently than you were before. You need to schedule time in your calendar that you're actually going to go to the grocery store, prep the food, and bearing in mind that cooking more often means cleaning more. So you're also having to account for the time that you are cooking and cleaning up after the meal that you've prepared. So things like that, really building it into your schedule. So a little example for me personally, I really want to do Yoga with Adrienne's 30 days of yoga in the new year. And the reason for that is I have noticed that my own flexibility is so bad lately. I feel stiff all the time, and I just want to be more loose. I want to be more relaxed, and kind of practice a little bit more mindfulness too with my movement. So what I did is I made this assumption. I kind of overestimated how much time each video was going to take me. So I built in 1 hour a day, knowing that these videos are not going to be an hour. They might be like at most 40-45 minutes, and sometimes even shorter than that, like 20 minutes. And I know this because I've done her 30 days of yoga before, like one of her earlier programs, but I kept the hour long in mind because I don't know how long each video is going to be. And I plugged in 1 hour a day from January 2nd to the 31st into my schedule, knowing that there are days that I'm literally for 12 hours. I've got my internship, I've got school, maybe I've got work, and thinking like, there are going to be several times where I'm going to have to do these yoga videos at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and that's literally the only time I'll be able to do it. But putting it into my calendar made it feel more realistic and more achievable to me, because I know if it's in my calendar, there is a 90% chance that I am going to get it done. Related to achievability, I think it's important to keep in mind that you can set smaller goals for yourself rather than one large goal. It kind of depends on what that goal is. And setting smaller goals feels more achievable than looking at this huge goal that has so many steps to it and so many different phases. You got to do all this stuff. So it helps it feel more achievable if you break a huge goal down into chunks, and each chunk becomes its own goal. So going back to the goal of cooking a meal, keeping in mind you also have to keep a well-stocked pantry, make sure that you are keeping a running list of things that you're running out of, things you need to pick up at the store, and maybe even having a list of go-to recipes to choose from, recipes you've tried before or recipes that you want to try. Something that would not necessarily be achievable for the average person is for someone who has never really cooked very much or very regularly, telling themselves that in 2022, I'm going to cook every night. Don't do that to yourself. Moving along through the acronym, we're on to relevant. Is this relevant to who you are, what your values are, what your lifestyle is, what your long-term goals are for yourself? How do you envision yourself 5 years from now? It also has to do with knowing your why power. I learned that term years ago from the YouTuber, I don't even know if she still has a YouTube channel. I haven't been subscribed to it for a while, but Pickup Lines taught me the term why power. Don't know if she coined it or not, but that's just where I heard it. But it really stuck with me because I used to set the most ridiculous goals for myself based on whoever I was comparing myself to on the internet at that time, thinking like, oh, I want to be like so-and-so, and so-and-so goes on a walk every day. But why? You have to know your why. So with the example of cooking more, and I mentioned this before, but why do you want to cook more? Is it to save money? Is it to just improve the nutritional quality of your day-to-day meals? Is it because you want to learn a new skill? Know why, and that'll kind of help you get focused, and it'll also help you stay motivated when it gets hard, because it will get hard. Every time you try to do something new for yourself or try a new habit or work on a goal that seems overwhelming or outside the realm of possibility, it's going to get hard. You're going to get tired and lose steam. So knowing your why power really helps you get through those hard times. And along with relevant, making sure that it is relevant to your lifestyle. As a person who struggles with an eating disorder, a very relevant goal for me would be to improve my relationship with food and my body. So someone who already has a pretty good relationship with food and with their body, with exercise, that wouldn't be a relevant goal for them to suddenly be like, oh, I've heard about this thing called intuitive eating, I'm going to try that. Probably because they're already eating intuitively if they have a really good relationship with food. So they might find that I'm already doing this. I don't need to make this a goal for myself. And finally, the last letter in our acronym is T for time bound. So this relates more to those one-off goals. So you have that big goal or medium-sized goal, and you tell yourself, I want to achieve this goal by this date. So putting that deadline on your goal really rounds out the smartness of it, if that makes sense. For our example goal of cooking more, this isn't a one-off goal. This is building a habit. Unless your goal is to be like Amy Adams in Julie and Julia and cook through a recipe book, and she gave herself the deadline of a year to get it done. That's kind of like cooking more, that has a deadline that is time bound. But if you just in general are trying to cook more frequently, it might be more of setting a date in the future where you will look back and compare your progress. So if your why power was to save money, maybe right now looking at how much money do I spend on groceries versus how much money do I spend out at restaurants? And then in 6 months, looking at that number again and seeing whether you are cooking more based on your restaurant budget decreasing and maybe your grocery budget increasing, and maybe all around you're saving more money. The other thing I really want to touch on is accountability. How are you going to hold yourself accountable? Are you going to tell someone that you trust to kind of help hold you accountable? Are you going to tell someone about your goal and ask them, hey, can you kind of follow up with me about this thing that I told you? So that might really help, knowing that, okay, so-and-so is going to check up on me. Next time we talk, they're gonna ask me how I'm doing with my goal, and I need to be able to report back that I am making progress. Something that is even better than that is finding a buddy who shares the same goal as you. So it helps if you maybe have a partner and you live with your partner, or maybe your partner they spend the night pretty frequently. I'm thinking about my own life right now because one of my unofficial goals is to cook more. So I have a new cookbook that I got from Tyler, which is like Indian food instant pot recipes, because I got an instant pot last year for Christmas. So it's really nice because he really loves to cook, and I am the type of person that when I'm cooking, I really enjoy myself. But for some reason, I build up the task of cooking in my mind as something that's going to take a really long time, make a huge mess, and be a pain in my butt. And I never want to do it because of those things. But he's the type of person, he'll just start doing it, like he'll just go for it. So he's a really great buddy to have. And he, like I said, really enjoys cooking. And so if together cooking more is our united or joined or shared goal, it's really going to help us both be like, hey, you know, at the beginning of the year we said we would cook more, and I noticed we've been eating out a lot. Let's look at some recipes together. So I mentioned this a little bit ago too, when I was talking about achievability. And let's say you have a huge goal. And my personal example is to get a doctorate. That's a pretty big goal. A year and a half ago, that goal would have felt just insurmountable to me. And that wasn't even my initial goal. My initial goal was to get my master's. So I took the steps and I got into a program, and now I'm over a year into my master's program. I'll be done with all the coursework by the end of 2022. And along the way, I mean, pretty much from the beginning, I've thought, I'm probably gonna just keep going and go into the doctoral program, but not really making like any definite statements about doing that, but just always in the back of my mind and kind of telling people like, I'm probably gonna do that. That's probably gonna happen, just knowing me, but now here we are moving into 2022, knowing that in the fall of 2022, I'm gonna have room in my schedule to start taking doctoral level classes. So it doesn't feel as huge of a goal, however, well, compared to last year, but it's still pretty big. So something like that, I know I'm not gonna get done in a year, but my goal for 2022 is to get into the doctoral program at my current school and begin that process of getting my doctorate. So that's achievable to me. I can take that goal, which is still pretty big, and break it down into smaller chunks. Like, I need to set up a meeting with my student advisor. I need to figure out what the requirements are, what are the steps, because I don't really know that. It's very nebulous at this point, but making that really clear. What do I need to do to be able to complete the application process so that that decision is no longer in my hands, it's in someone else's hands, knowing that there is probably a personal statement I might have to write, or an interview I might have to do. So things like that. Those are the little baby steps. And with goals like that you are able to break down into baby steps, it is so important to celebrate your progress. It is really helpful to reward yourself along the way. And I did say that it's great for goals that are these big goals or one-off goals, but it's also great for these habit type goals too, like cooking more. Let's say you look back and, hey, like for the past 3 months, I have cooked a new recipe every week. That's so cool, and figuring out a way to reward your progress. So let's say that I write my personal statement and I'm so proud of it and it's so great. Maybe Tyler and I could go out to dinner to celebrate, or kind of holding off on that reward until I have put in the application, and then maybe even a bigger celebration when I get into the program. I'm saying when. I'm putting positive expectations out there. I feel confident that I will get into the program. It's just about doing the work to apply. But anyway, you know what I mean. So rewarding yourself along the way, even if you haven't achieved that big goal yet. As a little side note, I need to be better about this. So I'm saying it here for myself, but I'm also saying it for you. Make sure you're building in breaks, because as I mentioned earlier, you're going to lose steam. This is going to be hard. It is. Any new goal, unless you're setting a goal that you're like, cooking more literally means all I have to do is cook once in the next year. Maybe that to you does feel really hard. If I were to set that for myself, that is not something that I would really need breaks for. But I think generally speaking, it's good to build in breaks for yourself. So if that looks like, using another personal example, last year, my goal was to go on 10 hikes. That in and of itself, that goal automatically builds in breaks for me. So it's not quite 1 hike per month. That gives me 2 months where I don't have to go on a hike. And it just takes a lot of the pressure off. It's very realistic. It's still challenging. And if I'm honest, I only went on 9. Only, that might be only for some people or a lot for other people. And no, I'm gonna celebrate the win, because it kind of it goes along with my next point. It is not an all or nothing process. Let's say you really wanted to cook a recipe from scratch every single week, and you did maybe half the time. That is still more than you did before. Celebrate that. That's a win. That's progress. It's not all or nothing. And going on 9 hikes when my goal was 10, that doesn't mean that I didn't achieve the goal. What is the spirit of the goal? What was your why? Go back to your why power. So for hiking, for me, it was, I want to mix up my workout routine. I feel good when I hike. I like being out in nature. So just because I went on 9 versus 10 doesn't mean I didn't mix up my workout routine. It doesn't mean that I didn't have that time outside, challenging my body in a different way and doing something a little bit more meditative than what I usually do. So I'm celebrating that. I did do that, and that's okay. And I think I'm setting a pretty similar goal for myself next year, 10 hikes. I think it's really realistic for me, and knowing that it doesn't put a lot of pressure on myself. So I think that is everything I wanted to cover in this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and comment down below. I really want to know any of the following if you would like to share. So one thing I'm curious about is, what is your goal setting style? Are you someone who you love making New Year's resolutions or New Year's intentions, and maybe you make one really big one every single year. Maybe you make smaller ones and one medium one, whatever that is. I really want to know. And you can also include one or more of your actual goals, either for the new year or just in general, because again, you might be watching this in like August of 2022. Hello, future people, beings. Are we still wearing masks? Probably. So yeah, let me know. Couple of my goals I've already mentioned throughout this video. I want to be cooking more frequently. I want to get into and begin my doctoral program. I have decreased my goal of being in plays from being in 2 to being in 1, just knowing that the first, well, slightly, almost half of the year is going to be really busy for me with school and with my internship. Kind of along with that, simplifying, because I am someone who typically makes a ton of goals and I overwhelm myself, and it's not good. So I'm actually trying to be a lot more simple and specific and meaningful and intentional with the goals that I'm setting for myself in the new year. So if you're curious about that, you can ask down in the comments and I will answer. But I won't. This is the first year I'm not going to do a whole video on what my New Year's intentions or New Year's resolutions are. Partially because they don't really get a lot of views, and they're not even videos that I really like to go back and watch anyway. So I felt like this would be a lot more of a useful video for you and for myself to look back on. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if this is content that you're interested in, or not. That's cool too. And I will see you, hopefully, in my next video in the new year. Although this video is going up in the new year, but I'm filming it from the past. Anyway, see you then. Okay, bye.